Going to be a great episode today. I'm going to show you why the New York State court is 100% corrupt. This whole case against Donald Trump makes no sense other than they want to get him. It doesn't matter if you're a Trumper, you're not a Trumper. I'm just facing this as an attorney and trying to be objective here. This is a corrupt case, and I'm going to explain why today. Taking it off then, damn it. I'm pissed off now. I'm pissed off. And just in case I'm not pissed off enough, we're going to talk about this criminal case in the state of New York against Donald Trump. The whole thing is crazy. It doesn't make any sense. In fact, every time I ask somebody, do you know why Donald Trump is being prosecuted? Out of every 10 answers I get, all 10 of them are wrong. Okay, I'm going to explain it right now. This is what happened. This is why Donald Trump is being prosecuted. And it goes like this. Okay, so in 2015, he's running for president of the United States, right? And he paid off a couple of people, Stormy Daniels, Karen McDougal. He just paid them off to keep quiet about these alleged affairs that he had with them. All right. Now, here's the deal. It is 100% allowed and legal for somebody to pay off a stripper or former love affair or whatever the heck. All of that is completely legal. It's 100%. In fact, it's encouraged, damn it. No, it's legal. So that, because people are like, oh, because you paid off a stripper, hush money. I'm like, okay, that's not what this case is about, because all of that is 100% legal. All right. So what happened was this. So when he paid them off, the way he paid them off, and remember, it's to kind of try to keep this quiet, right? So he had his attorney, and this was his attorney's idea, by the way, Michael Cohen. The lawyer said, what we'll do is I'll pay them and then you can pay me back. All right. So it was the lawyer's idea. So what happened was then the lawyer paid the women off. All right. Then Donald Trump paid back the lawyer from his own pocket. All right. Here's where it gets kind of crazy. The state of New York is saying, well, Donald Trump, the real reason he did that was because, he wanted to help his campaign. Michael Cohen wanted to help his campaign, so they kind of paid off these former love affairs so that it could help his campaign. Since it was to help his campaign, he should have, you ready for this, used campaign money, not his own money. All right. So get this. So his lawyer should have told Donald Trump, oh, you want to pay off a stripper that you had a love affair with? Yes. Okay, let's take the money that we received from campaign donations from people that wanted you to become president. Let's use that money to pay them off, not, God forbid, your money. That's the whole case. That's it. All right. And because he used his own money instead of the campaign money, then he is being charged with 34 felony counts. It's not even a question of, oh, he could have, he deducted this. He could have paid more state tax or whatever. That's not even the deal. They're not trying to get state tax from him. They're just saying that he should have used campaign money instead of his own money because it helped his campaign. I cannot for the life of me figure out why the state of New York would be spending tens of millions of dollars going after that, shutting down their whole judicial system almost, going after all that, other than they want to get them. There is this theory in law. It's called selective enforcement, and back in the day, like if there's some sort of criminal code or criminal statute and they only go after a certain race, all right, or they only go after a certain religion, things like that, where they're kind of selectively prosecuting somebody, then it's illegal. Prosecutors can't do that. One very famous example was the statute of loitering. Have you ever been, Mateo, you look like the type of guy that loiters a lot at certain places, right? Have you ever been dinged with loitering? No? Okay. So cops used to use this. The Supreme Court of the United States said was, loitering was just kind of like you're hanging around somewhere, but you're not doing a good business. Like you're not like conducting some sort of business activity, but you're hanging around at a mall or at a wherever. and you're not kind of, like I said, doing some sort of business activity. But then it was kind of pointed out, but cops kind of ding, African Americans more often than white people for loitering and things like that. So these are United States Supreme Court cases. So they said, all right, so those type of statutes are not, they're not fair to be enforced. Also, another common one was jaywalking. That's why the state of California now decriminalized jaywalking. Like you can't get busted for jaywalking. Kind of some similar kind of theories here. So I think. And there's evidence of this with Donald Trump because the prosecutors, when they were running for office, they kept saying, we're going to get Donald Trump. We're going to find something and we're going to get Donald Trump for something. Right. And then even that big judgment, the $450 million that Donald Trump now owes to the state of New York. All of these big businesses were saying things like, wait, we do business the same way that you're dinging Donald Trump for. So the New York State Attorney General said, Mrs. James said, don't worry, we're not going to go after everybody. You know what I'm saying? You can do business in New York. We're not going to come after you, even though we went after Donald Trump. But we're not going to go after you folks for the same thing. So here, I think there's, just for those reasons, I think on appeal one day, all of this could be tossed. One of the biggest reasons why I don't think people truly understand what's going on is because none of this is televised, right? Have you ever watched footage of this? No, this is the most important. This is a state of New York going after a former federal president and a current Republican nominee, right? So they're going after him. I mean, they could get a prison sentence for this. And in theory, they have within their right, they're trying to do it. They can get a prison sentence and the judge has the discretion, go to prison for 2 years, and so they're crippling a former federal president and the current nominee. And they had a ruling that they forced him throughout all of these weeks of trial that he has to physically be there every day. He can't campaign. Now, all of that, my point is, okay, fine, but why can't we see this? Why can't we see this? Do you remember the Johnny Depp trial? That was videotaped, right? The state of Michigan, there was like a mom and dad of the kid who went shooting at the school, and then the mom and dad got charged because they let him have access to the gun, right? All of that was videotaped. Alec Baldwin is going to go on trial for manslaughter in a couple of weeks, or actually in July, so a couple of months, and they already ruled that could be videotaped. So why can't this trial be videotaped? I know why, because it's a corrupt system. All right, that's why. Now, I've been bringing this up over and over, and I've had a lot of people argue with me about this, including some lawyers that argued, and here's what they say. Well, Joe Samo, the state of New York doesn't allow videotapes. Okay, fine. That's what I'm arguing about. That's the part that I'm saying is illegal. A lot of people are like, well, that's the law. And I'm like, okay, good point. That's the law. But my whole point is that the law is corrupt. And here it's like, okay, we're not talking about a case of some kid who, vandalized his school. We're talking about the former president and crippling the former president and ultimately getting a prison sentence against the former president and Republican nominee. And by the state, like a state government, when this person is a federal, running for federal office. So in theory, we could have a state kind of cripple the federal government through this backhanded way. I'm not saying that, well, hold on. I am saying the state of New York is doing this, and they're also deciding not to make it public. So we can't see anything, we can't hear anything. All right. And then other people's like, well, Joe Samo, you can read the transcripts, and they let reporters kind of say what happened. And you get these stupid courtroom sketches that do absolutely nothing, right? Here's my retort to that. I call it the Joe Samo pornography rule. All right, here's what I mean. Here's the Joe Samo pornography rule. All right, when somebody, Zeke, why are you putting your head down? When somebody wants to watch or consume pornography, right, Mateo? How do they want to do it? Do they want to watch and hear it? Can you imagine you go to some pornographic website, okay, and you're like, I want to watch pornography or I want to consume pornography. And what they do is they give you a transcript, right? How many people would read the transcript? And then the gentleman gives the lady a massage, and this proceeds for 23 seconds. To which the gentleman asks if he could then take off his shirt. The woman thinks about it and says no. So therefore, the gentleman proceeds to continue giving her a massage and then asks once again, okay, am I boring the hell out of you? Right? Do you see what I'm saying? So the state of New York knows that no one is going to read the transcript, okay? Or very few people will. And so they say, well, we're releasing some of the transcripts of the things that are going on. Also, if someone wants to watch a movie, okay, Zeke, what movie have you seen in the theaters lately? Give us an appropriate film title, please. Did you watch Oppenheimer? Or yeah. You did? That was a cool movie, right? Can you imagine, Zeke, you go to watch that movie, and instead of watching the movie, they give you the screenplay, the 198-page screenplay, right? Would you then be like, oh, I'm glad I paid $20 for this, right? So again, people won't read the transcripts, or at least, okay, fine. You get 1 out of 100 people that say, I would rather read the book than watch the movie, right? You get people like that. God bless them. Okay, cool. So make the transcript available and then make the audio and visual available. What do you think, Mateo? Am I asking for the earth and moon here? Now, then they say, well, that could make the criminal trial unfair and, the courtroom will be a clown event or something, right? But it's been done before, and murder cases are videotaped all the time. Remember the O.J. Simpson case? Okay, that was before your time, obviously, right? But you remember, you made it up later, you watched it later. That was all videotaped. That was, and the Nuremberg trials, okay, in the 1940s was videotaped, all right, because they knew this is an important trial. We want to have transparency. The New York State, this is there's like an official news release by the New York State court system. And what they said is, okay, we're going to publish the transcript. So listen to what this is the state of New York's court saying this. So through their chief administrative judge, the Honorable Joseph Zayas. Don't use that name, Joseph, all right? There's nothing honorable about this, what I'm about to read. With opening statements starting today in the historic trial of the people of the state of New York v. Donald Trump, Chief Administrative Judge Zayas and the first Deputy G, blah, 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 will make the transcripts available on the court website. Oh, thank you very much, state of New York. Right? They're going to make the transcripts available. The court system is taking the novel step of posting the daily transcripts of the trial proceedings on its public website, which falls in line with its landmark innovations to publish online the court filings and decisions, as well as the case exhibits, to ensure broad and continuous public access to this extraordinarily high-profile case. A certified transcript of each day's trial proceeding will be posted online and publicly available. And then they're talking about how awesome they want to be transparent and everything. I got an idea. I got a freaking idea. You ready for this idea? Just let somebody take a effing iPhone in there and record it. Right? What do you think? Is Joe Samo asking for the world and moon? And I do think that because they're not doing this, it's why a lot of people just don't understand what's going on. And in theory, a lot of these transcripts and a lot of these, they publish the motions in limine, right? Which most people don't understand, and God bless them. I had to go to law school for this stuff, right? So they know that a lot of people, when they publish these things on the court website, that they won't understand it exactly. But had they been able to hear it or hear the opening statements, instead of getting this flippin' transcript on court filing documents, of the opening statements of the prosecutor and the criminal defense attorney, if they were able to listen to it, then they can kind of put together an idea of, oh my God, this trial is not about him giving money to a former, a stripper. It has nothing to do with that. It just has something to do with where did that money come from? It came from his own personal money as opposed to campaign money. Okay, well, can you imagine if someone told Donald Trump, wait a minute, whatever you do, don't legally pay this woman to keep her mouth shut with your own money. take the public money that you get from the campaign donations, use that money to pay her. That's what this whole case is about. If people, I think, were able to watch and hear that, we would have a different outcome in terms of what people, their understanding of what's going on. Okay, let me explain. Then, just in case that wasn't enough, the court, in terms of a lack of transparency, the judge ordered Donald Trump to keep his mouth shut. All right. Hey, that would be awesome. Be like, hey, judge, I had to pay Stormy Daniels $130,000 to try to keep her mouth shut. What are you going to pay me to keep my mouth shut? That would have been awesome. That would have been very. Anyway, and use it from the state money, not from the public money, not from your own money. All right. So here's what the judge did. The judge ordered Donald Trump to refrain from. Okay, and this is a court order. And then another thing, they could actually put him in prison for this if they wanted to. Okay, so they ordered Donald Trump to refrain from making or directing others to make public statements about known or reasonable foreseeable witnesses. So he's not allowed to talk about these witnesses. Making or directing others to make public statements about the attorneys, other than the actual district attorney, members of the court staff and the district attorney staff, or, this is a big one here, family members of any council or staff member, and then making or directing public statements about prospective jurors. Okay, so now keep in mind, so he's not allowed to talk about Stormy Daniels. He's not allowed to talk about Michael Cohen. Yet those people have talked so much smack about Donald Trump. In fact, Stormy Daniels went on Saturday Night Live.
Sorry, Donald, it's too late for that. I know you don't believe in climate change, but a storm's a-coming, baby.
And all these things. So, and Michael Cohen has now made a career. Like, I see him on CNN making statements about this, right? So another hit is that they're ordering Donald Trump to refrain from. Now, my opinion is just let the dude talk. Like, let him say whatever the fudge he wants to say, and I don't see what the problem is. You know what I'm saying? Like, let him talk. Or better yet, tell those witnesses, oh, if you ever say anything, then we're going to throw out the whole prosecutor's case. The other thing that they said that Donald Trump cannot do. Now, the actual judge, okay, his daughter worked for the campaigns of notable Democrats, including Kamala Harris. As you know, she ran against Donald Trump and won. She was the vice presidential candidate for Joe Biden. And Donald Trump kept saying, well, his daughter is out to get me. And she had a LinkedIn page where she was like, she posted where she used to work and everything. That then became private after all these people talked about it. So Donald Trump kept mentioning that. I cannot for the life of me see why it's unfair for him to say all of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is he refrained from saying that? Once again, this lack of transparency. I think, and I'm not here to say Donald Trump is a good guy, a bad guy, whatever. I'm just a lawyer and I'm trying to read the pleadings, and try to understand what's going on. There's a serious corruption problem here. And that problem is they're keeping the proceedings hidden. They're keeping, they're trying to keep the former president from not talking about this. They're keeping him from going on the campaign trail, by forcing him to be at court. Why not just say, hey, if you don't want to be here, don't be here? They could have ruled that way, but they're saying, no, you absolutely have to be here. And we're not going to let you waive your right to be here. You have to physically be here. Otherwise, that's going to be another criminal issue against you. All right. And then do you remember hearing about this 34 counts, indictments? Right? Let me explain what those 34 counts are. What happened was Michael Cohen, his lawyer, when they got together and discussed how they're going to do this, how they're going to pay them off. Now, his own lawyer secretly recorded him. Hey, great job, Judge. So we're going to let that go into the record? Why don't we just get once again. Anyway, so he secretly recorded him in this conversation that Donald Trump, Michael Cohen, and Pecker. I'm dying to know if that National Enquirer boss, if his real name is Pecker or he just changed his name to Pecker, right? I know, but that would be kind of like a funny stage name. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyhow, I don't know. Let's just say his real name is Pecker, okay? So Pecker, Trump, and Cohen, this is not a joke. This is actually real. They're talking about this. And so they agree, okay, well, let's pay them off so we could, have have this whole thing be quiet, blah, blah, blah. And then Cohen, the lawyer of all things, he devises a plan. And his plan is, all right, I will pay, and then I'll send you, I'll pay everyone off. And then you can pay me back all that money, and I'll send you, something like 12 invoices of $35,000, and then just pay me back little by little until all of that is done. So 12 invoices, let's say, right? And then what the state did is they got 34 counts, criminal counts, because what they said is, every time he sent one of those 12 invoices, that is a whole felony count, just by that. Just by getting an invoice and photocopying it into your ledger. That right there is every one of those invoices was a criminal count, like a new criminal case. Then every time it was paid, every single check that was made out of all 12 checks or whatever, all of them are new criminal counts. And then every time one of those checks was then photocopied into your ledger, that's a new criminal count. Are you with me? And that's how they got to 34. I mean, they could have just said this was a whole scheme. It's one felony count. But instead, they divided it into 34. You know why they do that? Just to stack the charges. You know what I'm saying? Just to make it sound like we got 34 felony counts against him. And then if you were to ask the prosecutor, okay, other than paying off the stripper and not counting it as a campaign donation, what else do you got? We have 0 counts. You know what I'm saying? All of that relates to this. Okay, it's kind of funny. The jury, when they got the jury, they wanted to make sure they're going to get a fair jury. And then so they had all the jurors fill out these questionnaires. So some of the questions were, these are fair. This is just kind of how it goes when you have a high profile kind of defendant here, like Donald Trump. Okay. So some of the questions were things like, where do you listen to the news? Do you listen to New York Times? Do you listen to USA Today? Or do you read or listen to the New York Times, USA Today, Huffington Post, CNN? Do you get your news from Facebook, Google, X, TikTok? Do you read the Wall Street Journal? Do you read Fox News? Do you watch Fox News? Do you listen or watch Newsmax? Newsmax. So they're trying to get kind of all the jurors' profiles. That way they can, if somebody's obviously, then they'll ask questions like, can you be fair and impartial? Or do you hate Donald Trump? Or do you love him so much that you can't be fair and impartial? So all of that. So these hundreds and hundreds of jurors had to fill out these complicated answers, okay, or complicated questions. Some of them I say complicated because they also get more detail. Like, do you have relatives who are working for this or that? Do you have relatives who are employed by the FBI, district attorney's office? I'm just kind of explaining how the legal system works here. So after they answer all of these, then the jurors have to, they could have to answer like physical questions, and so then the attorneys can ask the jurors more questions. If any of the attorneys for either Donald Trump or the state of New York think that, this guy is obviously biased, they could ask for the judge for what's called a for-cause strike. For-cause strike means, well, let's strike this juror because it's clear that he can't, be fair and impartial. They get unlimited amount of those. And then they get a few strikes for they have a hunch. Is that the right word? I have a hunch that this lady's going to be unfair to Donald Trump, so we could strike her. So each side gets a few of those, but they can't use them on, like the prosecutor can't just strike people for like racial profiling purposes. By the way, in the 1990s, I'm an old man, right? In the 1990s. So I worked at for a criminal trial judge. And I remember, okay, so the rule is you can't let's say you have a black defendant, you can't just, for example, strike out any black jurors, just a preemptorily, just, we just have a hunch, right? You can't do that. So one time there was this juror, and then she was answering all these questions, and the prosecutor was like, okay, Your Honor, we'll strike juror number 18, and then she left. And then the defense, the public defender's like, Your Honor, crossbar, please. And I was hearing all this transact, right? So the public defender goes, Your Honor, we're going to bring a Wheeler motion because we think the prosecutor struck juror number 18 because she's black, and that's the only reason they struck her, right? And then the prosecutor said, is she black? We don't even know if she's black. I think she's Filipino. And then the judge looks at both of them. He's like, I don't know. I can't tell if she's Filipino or black. I'm not sure. Right? So all three of them were just kind of like, well, he struck her because she's black. Yeah, but wasn't she Filipino? So they're kind of talking. And then the judge is like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to have her come back so she can tell us if she's black or Filipino? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, shit, I want to hear what happens. You know what I'm saying? Do you want me to go get her, judge? I'll bring her ass back here and she can tell us what the fuck she is, right? No, I didn't do that. We probably should cut out the bad words there. But anyhow, so you can't challenge us on racial profiling. But that was in the 90s. I thought that was pretty funny. Okay. Other like little things about this case, there's these, and I want to explain all this because all of the access that you could have. Oh, I forgot. One other thing when I said you can't watch any of this, some people are like, well, they allow a few reporters to be in the courtroom and then those reporters can talk about the trial. I don't see how that resolves my concerns because then we have to listen to like some reporters are like, well, I didn't see, I thought he was like kind of Mr. Pecker was a little bit like nervous when he was answering questions or this or that, right? It's like, why do we have to listen to it secondhand? Why can't imagine telling the jury, listen, jury, you're not going to hear any of the witnesses. What we're going to do instead is the witnesses are going to testify to a CNN reporter and a Fox News reporter. And then we're going to have the CNN reporter tell you what he thinks. And then the Fox News reporter tell you what she thinks. And then you can make a decision. How would that be fair? I mean, right? But that's what the judge is asking us to do. And hey, judge, why do you have to have the witnesses there? Why can't we just send the witnesses some questions and you could read the transcript of their answers, right? Anyway. So that's my response to that. A motion in limine is just asking the court, we want to take this evidence out. We want to include this evidence, blah, blah, blah. That secret recording from Michael Cohen, because remember, this whole case is about his intent when he gave the money to the stripper and Karen McDougal or whatever, when he gave them the hush money, it was to help his campaign. It wasn't, for personal reasons, like he wants less strife in his marriage, or he doesn't want to look like a total jackass with his kids or whatever the heck. Right. So that secret recording of Michael Cohen, during that secret recording, they say things like, oh, we got to keep this quiet. You're running for president and this and this and that. So Donald Trump didn't know that recording was happening. He was talking to his lawyer. His lawyers made a pitch to exclude that evidence. The court ruled, no, we're going to allow that evidence to be brought into, so the jury could hear it, so they could kind of rule on what your intent was. I don't know about that. I don't know how that's going to go on appeal one day because he's talking to his lawyer. Theoretically, you think everything you're talking, it's not being secretly recorded. But there is this weird exception. It's kind of strange. Okay, so there's an exception in terms of what's secretly being recorded is if it's like in furtherance of a crime. But it's funny. It's like, this is what we're here to decide if this is in furtherance of a crime. So if they rule that we listen to it and this is in furtherance of a crime, then we should allow that in there. But it's like, so the court had to make a ruling that we think that this is in furtherance of a crime, so it's admissible evidence. Do you see what I'm saying? So now the jury could hear it. But anyway, so these are these kind of complicated evidentiary rulings. And what that means, the evidentiary rulings are basically what's allowed to come in, what's not allowed to come in. The other thing, do you remember that they call it the infamous Hollywood access tape? When Donald Trump said something akin to, oh, if you're a celebrity like me and you like a girl, you could just grab them by the P word, right? You remember this, right? So the prosecutor wants to introduce all of that into evidence, all right? And the prosecutor says with a straight face that we want this as in evidence, not to show that he's a good guy or a bad guy, but to show that because of the fallout, now that was in October 7, 2015. So that was a month before the election when that came out. And then, so the prosecutor's like, we're not trying to show that he's a bad guy or whatever. We just want to show that, that they were very concerned about his image in the campaign, you know? And so these type of hush money payments and things like that, the real reason they made it was because they wanted to improve their campaign, and it wasn't for him trying to appease his family and not look like a jackass with his family. You know what I'm saying about that? That'd be funny. What if the reasons were half and half, right? What does he do? Be like, oh, well, then Mr. President, or actually he was Mr. President campaigning. Why don't we use half of it as your personal money and half of it from the public money? Can you imagine people spending money to get this guy elected and then finding out later that he used that money, not his own money, to hush them up? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would have just been crazy. But believe it or not, that's what the state of New York is saying. Had he just done that, then there'd be no case against him. But instead, he used his personal money. I would love to hear what you folks think about this. Please let me know. And we could debate it. We could talk about it. As always, it's my pleasure to be here.